could go down like several rabbit holes that John and I could just go back
I
and
thought
forth
you were
about
going to
text.
start once or twice.
Well,
Oh yeah, no,
I didn't.
like,
I didn't quite want to.
I'd have
like,
tuned you right the fuck out if you did.
yeah. Hey everybody, welcome to Curling Nation Season 5, Episode 9. Nerd Alert! Today we're talking with John Benton, Chief Technical Officer and Grand Poobah of Stadium Sports, Curling Stadium stuff.
Technical term.
Yeah.
Grand Poobah.
Highly technical term.
Yeah.
But first, let's thank our sponsors, Modus Financial, moduscc.com. If you need a single credit card swiper, an entire point of sale system, Mason has what you need. Modus Financial offers a wide variety of payment services, each with enhanced features designed to help process credit card payments, increase your sales, reduce expenses, and increase productivity.
That was way better than the last show. Nice job. Way to go. Do we have more sponsors? Let's keep it tight today.
So
this is going to be a really tight show. I feel it in my bones.
I have it written down.
Okay.
And sometimes I just don't read it.
I know. Well, I'm just saying, you read it this time was really good.
Yeah.
It's paying you a compliment.
Endgame Curling. Endgamecurling.com. If you need a new broom, he's got a the Origin or the Icon. Is that right?
Accurate.
Club Fabric, World Approved Fabric,
World Approved Foams.
World Approved Foams now.
No, they're just all
coming.
approved.
It's coming.
They're coming.
They're all they're just all of his are approved. None of his have been banned.
Oh,
some of the foams got banned.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Okay, sorry.
Well,
I didn't mean to.
Approved.
We'll talk about that shortly.
Approved foams, approved fabric. An economical way to change your head, because you should change your head more than you do. All you gotta do is just buy the fabric, snap it on. Works great.
Crackle, pop.
They have non-slip silicone sleeves, a very nice travel broom. Thanks, Croy. Check out endgamecurling.com.
Sweet. Talk about that quick.
Sweet.
There are foams that have. All I saw was the Gold Line. Gold Line said that they shouldn't be using the whatever.
They pulled the black Gold Line one from play for the rest of this, for all WCF and WCF leading events for the season.
Okay. Are there any of the other foams that are?
That might be the only one currently. I feel like there's going to be a WCF.
Meeting?
No, not WCF anymore. World Curling.
Yeah.
Meeting to figure out what to do, because a lot of foams were harder than they were supposed to be.
You're a durometer.
Are we sure those drowners are calibrated correctly? Like,
multiple durometers have said that multiple foams were multipliers too hard. Got it.
Yeah, I had only heard about the Gold Line foam. Yeah. And the way you said it was there were multiples. But I was confused. But yeah,
Gold Line has like 3 different foams. One of them currently is not allowed.
Yeah.
The other 2 are.
Got it. All right.
How many different brands of durometers are there?
I don't know. You're a durometer. What happens?
Homan won Worlds. That's not really news, but
it is news because
I think it is.
Two in a row.
She won 2 in a row, which is great for her.
This is her third in 4 years?
No, I think this is only her second.
Well, second in a row.
I think Enerson won all those before.
Yeah. No, Tirinzoni won them.
No, won all the Canadians though. So
Oh.
But she had to make a really sweet shot to not lose in the semis.
Yes. In
the 10th end, she was up 1 without. She had to make a really good double. Otherwise, she's going to give up 2 and lose in 10.
Yeah.
She made it, and then, of course, she won in 11.
Won in the extra. Yeah, I mean, well, and she lost a game in the round robin, didn't she? It's not like she went
She lost a couple.
She lost a couple
it's
games.
not like she went through undefeated. Like, you know, how many
She also had pink eye.
Well, you know.
I watched one of the games against Switzerland. She's in the hack.
Yeah.
And, like, every time they're in the hack, like one of the sweepers will say, "How you throwing this one?" And she'll say straight through or full or what, whatever. They have their own language.
Got their own language. Yeah.
About how if she's gonna pop it or if she's gonna throw it good or if she's gonna like help it curl or whatever. And one of the sweepers, the cameras were not on her; they were like on the overhead at the time, but so you couldn't see her mouth this. But one of the you could hear in the player mics. One of the sweepers said, "How you throwing this one?" Excuse me, and then she said, "I don't know, I can't see."
Jeez.
She had been wearing glasses the whole game.
That.
Yeah. But she took them off to shoot.
Oh, goodness.
Like maybe she just never ever curled in glasses, but she couldn't see well enough to call line without them.
Sure.
And maybe her vision isn't that bad, so she thought she could curl without them.
Sure.
And she still won a whole mess of games. I don't know if she was using glasses and such come the end of the week. This was earlier.
I confess to not watching a lot of Worlds.
Well, it was in Korea. It was at a hard time of day.
They're a hard time to watch.
But I didn't realize she had pink eye. That definitely throws a wrench in the works. But congratulations! I saw a funny video of them coming back. I think they must have connected from wherever, Korea, and they were like flying home. They were on Air Canada or whatever, and they're making their like in-flight announcements, and Emma Miskew has like one of those very cosmetic like mask things on, and the flight attendant is making a comment about, well, if we have the Canada curling team on board, and people are like looking at her, and she's got this like cosmetic thing on, just like, dude, I just want to fall asleep and be on the plane. Like, don't look at me. She was just like, and this is the time I chose to do this.
Nah, good.
It was humorous. I saw it on the X. So, congratulations to them.
U.S. team struggled a bit there. As the U.S. women's team now going to have to go through the qualifier for the Olympics?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that on Instagram earlier this week, the teams that qualified. And the U.S. is not one of them. So, yeah, they will have to go to that qualifying event and win a spot into the Olympics.
I don't know when it is, but it's typically early fall.
No, that'll be in like December. And it's somewhere in Canada, Kelowna.
I believe it's back to Kelowna.
Yeah. Back in Kelowna.
Yeah. And there will be like whatever, maybe up to 10 countries playing in it. And the top 2 teams will get an Olympic berth.
Yep.
But no, they struggled throughout the week, and I mean they had a couple close games and a couple games that they got beat pretty badly.
I saw they lost a lot of games by a point.
Yeah. So it's the way it goes sometimes, unfortunately. But they needed to finish at least a few spots higher to get the auto qualification. So somebody will have to go to.
Do you think USA Curling will have an event to decide that team?
No, the winner of the Olympic trials will be the team that goes to that event.
Okay.
Because the Olympic trials are those are in the fall.
Those will be like early November.
Yeah.
Early to mid-November, and then there'll be a
go.
couple-week turnaround, and then that team will go to this event. And the men's team.
And that team's gonna go to the Olympics because they're gonna do well.
And the men's team, they're in pretty good shape, points wise. So if they make the top 6, they'll be in for sure.
Okay.
I was looking at it and kind of doing some mental math, and top 7 is probably still pretty much for sure.
Okay.
And then I would say every position after that, their percentages go down
quite a bit,
10-20% per spot after that.
Got it. So it sounds like they're in pretty decent shape. But
if they play, I mean, they've been playing very well all season. So
yeah.
Well, this is their.
Yeah, I saw they're like the
first Worlds,
5th highest ranked team at Worlds, I think, something like that.
Okay.
They're 11.
Most of them, maybe all of them,
is what
played.
No, they went to
22 Worlds.
They went to World. Yeah, they
in
went to Worlds
Vegas.
22. Yep, that's right. After the Olympics.
Yeah, right after the Olympics. The same
Yep.
year as the Olympics. So it won't be a completely brand new experience to all of them, but I can't remember if everybody's the same or if maybe Andrew might not have been on that team. I'm not sure.
No, Andrew. I don't believe Andrew would have been on that team. That would have been.
I don't think he was on that team.
That would have been when Joe. Wouldn't Joe have been on that team?
Polo might have still been on the team. Yeah,
probably have been the Young Bucks then, still, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That'd be my guess. Anyway, so good luck to them.
Mm-hmm.
Hope they do well.
That starts.
Yeah.
In 2 days, maybe 2 days from recording of this show.
So by the time the show comes out, game or two will have already happened.
Yes,
Yeah.
And you can watch those on World Curling if you pay some money. Since we're going to talk about streaming later, here's an opportunity to spend a little bit of money for streaming, and if you do, then you can watch every single game.
Cool.
If you like black market in the Canadian thing, then you only get Canada games. But if you actually pay, it's all on the website. I did it last year for men's.
Yep.
I'm going to do it again this year for men's.
Given that it's in like
actually, I did it men's and women's last year. But
our general time slot.
Our general time zone.
Yeah.
So the curling channel.
Marginally within our time zone. Cool. All right, I'll check that out.
Event pass $25.
That's not bad.
I can finagle that.
Day pass $6. Game pass $3. Well, there you go.
All right, cool.
That's not bad.
So good luck to Team USA. Good luck, Corey. I talked to him a little bit this weekend. Past weekend.
Why? Where were you?
I was at the House Hearts celebrity charity. I don't know what they call it anymore. I was at House Hearts Bonspiel. It was dynamite. I had a great time. We raised $163,000.
That's pretty good
for hungry kids.
That's the highest so far yet.
Yeah, that's the highest, and
they passed $1 million.
And yep, I was just gonna say, and over the course of I think they said 22 years that they've been doing this. Yeah, surpassed $1 million.
I got my 15-year jacket out.
I got to pop a party popper when they announced that.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
I still have stains on my shoe from Jello shots.
You know you had a good time. Yeah, it was great. I think everybody had fun. If they didn't, they were doing it wrong. It's a great event. If you get a chance, I highly recommend checking it out.
Yeah.
I took a rookie this year. My friend Sylvia did a great job being a rookie. She stayed in the hospitality suite until like 6 o'clock in the morning, Saturday morning / Saturday night / Sunday morning. It was awesome. She was dynamite. Got to curl with Doug Cameron, a Duluth legend.
Yeah.
Dougie.
Yeah. Saw a lot of people that I hadn't seen in a few years, and it was great.
Didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's okay.
I beat the crap out of Richie.
Yes, you did. I saw that.
Which
that's always fun.
Makes it a pretty successful weekend. I'm not gonna lie.
Did you put him into the D Ranger?
Yeah, I sent Richie to the D Ranger.
Accurate.
Which actually they ended up winning the D Ranger, I saw.
They did?
No, they did not.
They didn't?
I don't think so. Did they?
I don't know.
I thought I saw that.
Doesn't matter.
Anyway.
He had to play in the D Ranger because I crushed him. But I did not win. I lost the finals to some clown named Angus Bryce from Scotland.
Yeah.
He's the only person I'm unhappy to have met this weekend. Actually, that's not true. He seems like a nice kid. I'm going to call him a kid because he's probably only like 24.
Oh, Rich did win the D Ranger. Son of a gun.
Well, good for him,
Small consolation prize. It's the team Ken and Mary Broman.
Sponsored
They sponsored Richie for some silly reason. But those two are icons. Yeah. Icons at that event.
It's nice to see them around again.
Yep, I saw them. Yeah, it was a great event. A lot of fun was had.
My hero of the weekend.
Okay.
Evan Workin. and his ability to throw around Jello shots accurately.
I heard the story.
Saturday night, like midnight-ish, he's on the opposite side of the bar as I am, and he's got just an armful of Jello shots, and he's giving them to anybody who wants one. And this guy, with the precision with which he threw Jello shots around to people, he looked like an NFL quarterback slotting it between defensive backs. I mean, it was phenomenal. Just whoosh, whoosh,
Matrix
whoosh. Like between bartenders that are walking back and forth under low ceilings, past people's heads. It was phenomenal. It was really impressive. He can't curl for crap, but man, he threw Jello shots around like a whiz.
He was in an event final.
Yep.
I don't know which event.
B?
C? D? I don't know. D, maybe?
He didn't win one.
No, he did not win, but he was in the final because I was on the Sheet 9 dance party and we started an Evan Workin chant.
I don't know who he was playing against or what event. It wasn't. I think it was the C.
Who won the C event? You got it up.
That
Lies?
would be Schuster.
Nope, it wasn't the C because Pompey was playing against
Rodney.
No, then he would have played against Plies.
Rodney won the D.
It was the B event then.
B event.
So he lost his first game and then won a whole bunch.
Wow.
Chris Plies scored an 8-ender.
He did.
That was pretty cool. That was pretty neat.
I saw it online. That was pretty cool.
Yep.
I've seen 2 8-enders in my entire life, and they've both been on sheet 8 in Duluth.
There you go.
At House of Hearts?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Dynamite. I scored a 6-ender last night playing doubles.
Nice.
Yeah. That's the most you can get.
Yeah. Huh.
I've done that too. You don't get a patch for it, though.
No, sure don't. I mean,
bunch of crap.
Yeah. Made a good one. All right. Should we talk to John? We should talk to John.
Yep, that's about all I got. Unless you guys got anything else?
Nope.
Okay, let's talk to John.
All right, we got a great guest on today. He is a one-time Olympian. He is a one-time national champion, and he is the Grand Poobah czar of all things curling streaming right now, or at least that's what I've called him. He is probably going to correct me. Welcome to the show, John Benton. How are we doing today, John?
I'm doing great, guys.
Great.
Glad to be on the show. Poobah might be the right term. I'm not sure.
Yes. I knew I got it right. See? Mm-hmm. You gave me a weird look, and I got it right, Craig.
Head Poobah or Grand Poobah?
Grand Poobah.
All right. No, go ahead.
Have you been out on the lakes yet this year? You're a fisherman, aren't you?
I am, and I have not.
No, nothing yet. Okay.
No.
We're going to come back to fishing. I've got the itch,
though.
Okay.
Let's come back to fishing.
We're going to come back to fishing. Craig wants to talk about curling.
I definitely want to talk about fishing.
All right. Do you have a question? That was my question. Ask if you have fishing yet.
Tell us about the streaming. You're the Grand Poobah, according to Mike, so let's hear it.
Well, do you want the full story? I suppose. If we
why not?
On show here. So, my background is in IT, right? So I was a computer nerd for a very long time. Worked in computers for about 20 years.
Yeah, I feel like you probably still are a computer nerd.
Yeah, well, it was an official thing that I did for work for a long time.
Got it.
Until I started managing Four Seasons Curling Club. And through that whole Olympic cycle experience, did a bunch of coaching, obviously. But the short part of the story is that the pandemic came along, and Jerry Gertz of Curling Zone and I were talking one day during the pandemic, and he said, a lot of people are like gonna continue playing, but there's no way for anybody to really watch. And so that got me kind of set off on a road of exploring the technology, and I won't bore you with those details, but long story short, we ended up coming up with a system to install into clubs. And that was the whole idea, was to install cameras and a system into clubs so that people could watch all the games, not just one sheet, but all of the games at a club. Mm-hmm. There really wasn't any talk about doing events or anything like that, other than if an event came into one of those facilities, we would try and produce some games. And Jerry had done some streaming, I had done some streaming, but there was really nothing more organized behind it than we want to make sure people can watch curling. Fast forward, 4.5, 5 years later, and now we've got systems in 26 clubs between the US, Canada, and Europe. And we're doing full up broadcast production for World Curling. Just did the mixed doubles trials in Denver, working with Peacock and NBC. Pretty much not quite every province in Canada yet, but Alberta provincials, BC provincials, done a bunch of stuff in Ontario. Our partners in Europe, Curling Stadium Europe, David Owen and Maggie Wilson from Scotland. They're working a lot with World Curling, Scottish Curling, British Curling. So it's just kind of exploded, and we've been lucky to have people like Joel come along, who's got experience in doing streaming, to help us, produce these shows and learn how to do it better. So that's as short as I can encapsulate that, but it's been a hell of a ride, and it's just not stopping.
Sure. When you and Jerry got together and started coming up with the kind of with your I don't know, system, if you want to call it, was your focus on like providing a high quality or a budget solution for clubs or something in between? Like or was your goal just to like, hey, here's kind of our package, we can come in and install this and then you can stream games and this is what it costs?
Here's the sales pitch that I always use. Lots of people have done streaming and do streaming from their clubs on their own at various levels and qualities. But the number one thing that I found with my own experience is that it's usually a volunteer from the club who sets the system up. They know something about computers. And if that person isn't around, the stream isn't up. Or if the stream goes down and that person is around, there's nobody there to fix it. So the idea behind what we were proposing and have done is more of a managed solution, where not only do we provide the equipment, but we also kind of build out the package for you in such a way so that it's 90% automated. The streams go on based on a schedule that the club sets. And they have support when there's issues. So it's on us to make sure that the system is up and running.
Got it.
So more like a traditional IT company.
Yeah, so it's not just you buy a package and then you walk away from it. Buy a package, get it installed, and you walk away from it. Like, you're there throughout the year.
Yeah, and it's
helping them out.
It's really run the gamut from people who didn't know anything about streaming and they just wanted us to come in and do it all. To people who had already done a bunch and they wanted to kind of partner with us. So St. Paul's a really good example of that. They have a very active group of people who stream and have streamed and are into tech. And so we provided them with a bunch of gear, but they're not an official curling stadium managed site, even though they've got a lot of our equipment. And we're happy to do, anything in between.
Sure.
So if a new club calls you guys up, like, you figure out how many sheets they got, and then you kind of just get a package together if they agree to it. Like, are you going and like setting it all up, doing install and stuff?
So we have basically 4 tiers of installation. So we have a guided installation, which is we basically ship you the gear and I guide you through the process. And then everything all the way up to us actually flying out on location and doing the full thing ourselves. Right. Okay. So there's 2 stages in between where it's a little more hands-on for us and less work for the club. So Nutmeg actually just signed their contract. So they're in Connecticut, and they're buying the full package, full installation. So I'll go out to Connecticut in May and do their full install. So again, we've really tried to build it to be budget flexible, so that people can get what they need. I think that the biggest thing that people ask is, what's it going to cost? And the rule of thumb right now is about $5,000 a sheet, depending on the options that you pick. Again, without getting too techie, the standard cameras that we sell are 1080 cameras. We do have a model of 4K camera that we sell, and that knocks it up to about $6,000 a sheet. So that's the rule of thumb that we go by in terms of hardware costs.
We need that for our sheets so people can see how handsome we are when we play on Mondays. I think we should explore upgrading our cameras.
Yeah, full HD.
I actually didn't set up our cameras at the club. I had nothing to do with it, so I don't get phone calls on that one.
Good for you. All right, so like there's this initial fee, and then is there, like, sorry, if I'm asking questions that I shouldn't, or you can tell me to shut up. Is there like a subscription, like a yearly fee, or is it monthly, or like, I mean, I don't know how it works.
So the management service subscription is $50 per sheet per month that you're in operation, right? So we don't charge you over the summer months when your ice is out, and that is really just enough to cover my costs personally of doing the support. Pretty soon, when we get to more than 30 sites, we're gonna have to hire somebody, and then we're gonna have to figure out how to pay for that, and that's not gonna go back to the clubs, I can tell you that. So there's a lot on the horizon that we'll probably talk about in a minute, I would bet.
You said you're out in Denver with the mixed doubles, working with NBC. How did they respond to the setup? Because they're a full camera setup with a full crew. They're bringing in a lot of gear.
Yeah.
But part of the streaming stuff is that we're using basically high-end security cameras to now they're getting more towards low-end broadcast camera, so it's more affordable. So what kind of feedback or input do they have about your gear there?
So it was interesting because we worked with Carr Hughes Productions, was the production company, and that's who I actually worked for when I was announcing. So Jim Carr was kind of the primary person, and he came in and actually sat down with me and had me kind of walk through all of our stuff. And it's getting to the point now where those kinds of companies are getting more comfortable and more familiar with the kind of stuff that we're doing. But to your point, Joel, like they brought in a truck and they had a crew of 40 people to do 2 days worth of one sheet of curling, right? And when they walk in and they see that we've got 3 people to do that one sheet of curling plus 3 more static camera sheets, the writing is kind of on the wall about how much money we're saving people in terms of being able to do full production shows.
Did you say 40 people?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah, those production teams aren't small. But
I feel like we've done football games and there have been fewer than 40 people there.
Working with the ESPN B crew, like they're down to 1 truck.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Maybe there were 40 people.
Yeah.
But that was for like a football. I suppose.
Yeah.
Whatever. Either way.
A football game.
Dang.
But yeah, like people complain about there's not enough curling on TV in the U.S. Like, well, the USA curling can't afford to pay for a 40-team crew to show up at a place to broadcast curling. That's not feasible at all.
But I paid $33 in dues to the USCA every year. That should be enough.
Right.
Yeah.
That should be enough.
Yep. damn it. Yeah.
That's a different conversation.
Yeah. We probably shouldn't go there, Craig.
No.
So the story that I like to tell is that one of the World Curling will tell you that for them to do a week-long event and bring in a TV truck, you can pretty much figure $100,000 a day, all in costs for them.
Jesus.
A day for just the broadcast truck, or that's all the World Curling to come in and do the whole thing?
That's for broadcast, right? $700,000. So that includes their labor, room and board, and for all their crew and all of that. But still, that number, right, is the number that everybody is trying to, get around with curling, because that's a big number. And so when we provide an alternative, especially for, it's a little bit harder to do. Like we obviously have done Pan-Continental last couple of years. It's a little harder for us to do a world level event where broadcasters are actually, traditional TV stations are actually taking the content, because we're just not providing that level of quality to go out to TV yet. But you can't continue spending that kind of money, especially for what they would consider to be, B-level events or shoulder events. So obviously anything to do with the Olympics, men's, women's, mixed doubles, wheelchairs, they can generally get somebody to buy that content. But there's nobody buying content for juniors. There's nobody buying content for, mixed doubles qualifiers. So that's kind of a slot where, in terms of producing events, that a company like ours fits. And we're starting to push that envelope a little bit, to where we're able to do more things like work with NBC and Peacock, because the technology and the gear is getting better by the day.
Better in terms of cost, or better in terms of picture quality, or both? Probably both.
Both. I think the most significant thing, and Joel will tell you, I sent out a link today, is the ability to do productions remotely, so that you don't have to travel everybody and pay for travel and pay for hotel and all of that stuff. That's certainly been a thing for a long time, but it's gotten to a point now where, like, in our case, most of the weekend tour events that we did productions for this year, we didn't send a single body on site.
Wow.
We did almost all of that remotely, which saves a ton of money.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, if you do that for that 40-person TV truck, now you're talking about some huge savings.
Yeah, because the cameras are getting better. It's no longer a network, because it used to be just like a really nice security camera that was used for streaming, and now they're getting more. There's a couple brands out there. You guys use was it Evan?
Ada
cameras. PTZ Optics is another one. These are PTZ Optics cameras, not PTZs, but Panasonic's got a few nice cameras out there, but the cameras are getting better on the network, so you can just remote into the network and make it all work.
I would imagine one of the biggest challenges you have, like if you're coming in for an event, is mounting your cameras and getting camera placement, because I can't imagine there are a lot of ice guys. They're already pretty grumpy, and they're not going to want to let you drive a scissor truck out onto the sheets. They're not going to, a lot of these places, you're not going to have catwalks where you can walk out and, place a camera right over the button or even remotely close. Like, I would imagine that some of that stuff is your biggest challenges. Can you talk about that at all?
Yeah, that's we have a kind of a requirements checklist that we go through. So, for instance, we're going to juniors in Ohio this next week.
Okay.
We're heading down on Saturday to do setup on Sunday and Monday, and that's like they have very low ceilings. They already have some security type cameras in to do their houses that come down on poles. So, it was a matter of getting some photos and figuring out how we're going to rig our stuff up. And it's different for every facility.
Got it.
The arena stuff is actually a lot easier because they're generally bringing in a truss for us to mount to.
Okay.
But then
those are super nice.
Yeah. But then you have to think about how am I running cables to the truss and how do I get power there and all of that stuff. So, there's payoffs on each side. Rock Creek was super challenging because they didn't want us to use a scissor lift. So we ended up using their overhead cameras for the houses. And fortunately, their overhead cameras they had invested in some really nice cameras. So we were able to do that. But somebody neglected to tell us that NBC would be hanging a truss.
That'd have been nice to know
beforehand. They
beforehand.
were going to be doing. So the existing overhead camera on that sheet was not available to us. So, you run into stuff like that all the time.
Sure.
We're helping do all of the static camera stuff for the men's world. So I was just remoted in up there trying to get stuff set up for the static feeds up there. And there's another challenge that you run into. TSN is obviously covering that event, right?
Yep.
So they've got their cameras on the truss, and their cameras, they have 2 sets on each end. They're on a trolley so they can go back and forth. Well, that means that there's cable that has to swag whenever they're like on sheet A.
Yeah.
Well, that will hang down now, potentially in our shot for the overheads, right? So there's all sorts of this stuff that you never, 4 years ago, I wouldn't have never thought that this is what I would be doing.
Yeah, like I've done events. I've done 2 events now at Chaska. I did hear they bought some cameras now from you guys, but like had to go in there for streaming, and Chaska's 2 stories up. Very nice wood. Can't drill or fasten to anything.
Yeah.
Their walls are either very nice wood or they're concrete. So
makes a challenge.
Like, yeah. So like I put them on the center post and got them as high as I could, but like there's no way of getting an overhead shot.
Right. All sorts of issues like that in terms of, and if we go back to talking about club installation, that's also, a big question when we start looking at clubs is, how high is your ceiling? What kind of access do we have? Is there any infrastructure up there that we can utilize, or are we installing something new? All of those issues.
Got it. Where do you see yourselves going then? You kind of alluded to some future expansion. Where do you see yourselves going? Or sub question, as like camera technology becomes less expensive, can clubs reach out to you and kind of upgrade their package and upgrade their cameras?
Yeah. So really, the thing that happened in the last year is we realized how much demand there was for event production. So you may have noticed that we started off as Curling Stadium, and Curling Stadium still exists, but that's now become more just the club side of things. And Stadium Sports Network is the new company, which is kind of the parent company for Curling Stadium. And Stadium Sports Network is really about event production.
Okay.
And it's event production for curling right now, but we have also done some pickleball in Canada. We've done some roller derby in Canada.
Turn it off. Turn it off. I'm done. I'm done. I don't want to talk about pickleball. Hate pickleball.
Yeah, I'm not a fan either. But
all right, fine. But it's money. It's money, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry.
So that's kind of what's happening is that there's a lot of those tier 2 rec sports that people want streamed.
Sure.
They're as passionate about their sport as we are about ours.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm hopeful that piece will continue to grow. The other thing that is really interesting is what's happening in curling in terms of streaming. Obviously, the Grand Slam is doing a lot of different things now than people have seen before. Hat cams, and they're trying to expand their footprint.
Yeah.
You may notice that Curling Canada, while they still are partnered with TSN, TSN hasn't been covering all of their events, and they're back on YouTube for a lot of their events. Pro Curling made a shift to a different platform last year, going away from I forget what it was called, but they're now on their own curling channel .tv. So without really speaking out of turn, I see that there's going to be an opportunity for somebody to bring a lot of this together, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Because I think the days of people not being frustrated by having to figure out where to find curling, I think there's an opportunity there to make it one place.
Nice.
So how many tour events, or how many events did you do? Tour, provincial, things like that this year were on your platform?
I was just adding that up. By the time we're done this year, it'll be 27.
Okay. And
that includes, so that's tour events, that's provincials, that's USA Curling, World Curling. Yeah.
Wow.
So for one of those events, how many, for a typical Bonspiel, how many games are all, if it's a 5-sheet club, are all 5 games on all the time, every draw?
That's the goal.
Okay.
So certainly in any facility where we have gear already. So any of those 20 plus facilities where we have gear already, the goal is to have every game of every draw stream.
Okay. And how many of those are you staffing with commentators, and how many with a production person changing cameras?
Yep. So that'll depend. So I think a good example is Swift Current. Swift Current, they've now got 3 events that we're actually doing production at, and they get a pretty healthy sponsorship from SaskTel. So they're able to pay us to produce more than 1 sheet per draw. So the typical thing that you will see from us anywhere else is we'll do a full production on 1 sheet that we call our feature sheet, and the rest will be just the static cameras. But Swift Current last week, I think some of the draws we had as many as 3 productions go.
Okay. And if there's nobody on site, who's in charge of giving these clowns microphones?
So typically there's somebody, the club manager, or we may have a local tech contact.
Okay.
But a lot of times we're not even using player mics. We actually use a camera, that a Mevo camera, and it has a really, really good ambient mic. So we can get away with that for a lot of the weekend events.
But yeah, it's not picking up that individual sheet. There's a Mevo camera out. It'll pick up a lot of the club noise, so it'll feel like you're sitting on the ice. But I think it might be a little hard to pick out if you're watching a specific sheet. It's hard to pick out the audio from there, but they're pretty good at getting what it feels like to be inside the ice house watching a game.
Yeah.
Okay.
you're certainly not picking up conversations between the skip and third like you would in a televised broadcast, but it's ample enough sound to give you that effect.
But some of the events you do have player mics.
Yeah, any of the what we would call a major events, so all of the USA curling events, all of the world curling events, and anything where we are putting people on site, we try to have player mics.
Excuse me. Sorry for my coughing.
That's all right. All right. We got to have a tight window here, and we got to ask him our regular show-in questions. So,
and fishing.
You said you want to get back to fishing. I think we all want to know about your fishing exploits. I didn't know you were such a good fisherman, and Craig has told me that you are a tournament fisherman. You still fishing tournaments?
No, I'm not. I haven't fished tournaments for about probably 7 years. But I picked it up in the mid 90s.
Okay.
My parents had a cabin up near the Boundary Waters that I went to every summer of my life until I was 18.
Okay.
And I hated it, or said that I hated it. But of course, now that I'm old and I know better, I wish I could go up there more. And so, mid 90s, I was like, I got to find a way to get in the outdoors. And some guy that I knew invited me to come fish a tournament, and I was hooked. No pun intended. No pun intended.
Pun landed.
Dad jokes.
Pun land.
Dad joke.
Pun landed. What species of fish would you fish? Were you a bass fisherman or a walleye?
Yeah, bass fisherman.
Okay.
So largemouth and smallmouth. I mean, I won't turn down an opportunity to go fishing.
Sure.
Period.
Sure.
But when I was tournament fishing, it was all bass.
It was all bass fishing. That would explain why back in the day, when you'd show up to the curling ice, your shirts would always like your team shirts would always look like bass fishing shirts.
Exactly. Exactly. I had the in.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, how many of these fishing tournaments did you do?
So the club that I was in, it was generally between 6 and 8 a summer.
Okay.
So May to sometimes November, depending. And then when you get in that culture, there's always a couple of guys in the club who fish way more than anybody else does. And they've got like the 21-foot boat with a giant motor, and they're fishing other like semi-pro tournaments. And so, invariably you get invited along to one of those tournaments. So there is a big tournament here that happens on Minnetonka called the Minnetonka Classic. It's 120 boats or something like that. So I've gotten to fish that a few times, and that's if you've never done it or never even attended it, I know bass fishermen can get they can get a bad rap sometimes, but I recommend that somebody just go and watch, because it's kind of a spectacle. I do miss it. I just don't have any time.
How would you recommend going and watching a bass fishing tournament in person?
With binoculars?
That's a great question.
I mean, do you get there early and watch guys prep their boats, and then can you go out in the water if you have a boat? If you
Absolutely.
can, if I have a boat, where should I go and what should I watch for? I wouldn't even know. It sounds fun. I'm intrigued.
So I would find out where they call it the blast off, right? So find out where the blast off is, and I would show up early and watch them load in, watch how the blast off goes, and then go have some breakfast, and then go back to the lake after things calm down, and just go out on the lake and look for professional looking bass boats and bring a binoculars,
Okay.
But even more than that, find out when and where the weigh-in is, when they bring the fish in and weigh them in.
Okay.
Because that's kind of the more, where most people show up to watch, because they want to see the big fish come in, right?
Sure.
What's the protocol? What's the proper distance to keep from a guy trying to win a bass tournament if you're a spectator and you're just Joe Blow with a pair of binoculars and some beer?
Yeah.
Well, you're going to want to check your DNR manual there, Craig.
I don't have one handy.
Yeah, let's
those
just say rule. Let's just say
with a
rule
boat?
of thumb, because I'm pretty sure there probably isn't a. I can probably be pretty close to somebody, but being that close would probably be unkind. Or
it's generally 100 feet.
Okay.
I know it is in Minnesota.
All right.
So you can get actually pretty close.
All right.
Now, if I'm 100 feet away, from some serious guy, is he gonna be like, back off, man? I need another 100 feet because I'm trying to catch a fish. I'm trying to make a living here. Or are they going to be just like, what it is, what it is?
I think most of them are going to be, it is what it is. If it's a big enough tournament, they're going to be used to it. Especially any of the guys who go down south and fish. Like, if you ever watch any of the shows on the weekends, like, there's spectator boats all around these guys all the time.
Huh.
So this blast off thing, like, I just imagine that they all put their boats in water, and then they're all kind of in the same spot. And then is it like a pole position where people get out front and then have to, like, the fastest boat gets the best spot?
So generally they have a boat draw. So they'll do it if it's a big enough tournament, like the one on Minnetonka that I mentioned, they do it in like 3 flights of boats, and then you get a number, right? And, so boat 1 through 40 in the first flight, they give them probably 2 seconds between launches. So you're driving by like an official boat, and he's saying, wait, and then go. And, you hammer it, and
just
you're
drop
flying
the
across the lake. Yeah.
Got it.
Don't some lakes have speed limits? Are they enforced during a tournament like this?
Yeah, absolutely. Minnetonka is actually another really good example with that, because when it floods in the spring, right? So this tournament is generally the first or second weekend of June. Minnetonka can get pretty hot, and they usually have speed limits because of boat wake. They don't want erosion of all the $1 million mansions that are around Lake Minnetonka. So it's usually, I want to say that it's usually 45 or 50 is the speed limit. And so when the tournament comes, the sheriff's out there giving people tickets all the time because they're not watching their speed at all.
Huh. How much does it cost if you get a speeding ticket on a boat?
That's a good question. I've never encountered that yet.
Okay.
I'm guessing similar to car, $200 and some, I would guess.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That'd be my guess.
I have no idea, but
when it comes to winning a fishing tournament, you might win $100,000. Like, what's a $250 speeding ticket, right?
Right. Well, and I'm gonna I'll throw something at you that a lot of people might not know. So these tournament guys, and when I was fishing tournaments, there's practice. There's pre-fishing. And what pre-fishing generally involves is figuring out where schools of fish are. Because schools of fish, they don't move very far or very often. Once they get into spring and summer, they're pretty much staying in the same area. So these guys will spend 4 or 5 days before the tournament, every day on the water, basically building out a list of spots, right? A milk run of spots.
Yep.
And that's essentially what's happening when you leave the blast off, is everybody's like, okay, I have my starting spot, and then I'm just going to go on my milk run, right? Well, getting to your starting spot, sometimes 2 guys have the same spot. So you don't ever really know.
Got it.
Huh.
Got it.
You just gotta have a faster boat.
Yeah, you just gotta. I've seen some of those boats. My buddy's brother is a tournament walleye fisherman, and he gets like a new Yar craft every year, and it's insane. So whatever.
Huh.
Yeah, the money they spend on boats.
300 horse motors, and just it's ridiculous. Yeah. My uncle's boat with a 50 horse, and I can fish walleyes out of it is perfect. Enough for a cooler of beer and some minnows, and that's all I need.
Exactly. I've got a little 16-foot. It is a bass boat, but it's a little 16-foot boat with a 75 horse on it, and that's good enough for me.
Perfect. Exactly.
I'd call that, nuts, but people come down here and look at all the tech I got in the basement. I'm
you could buy a boat with all this stuff.
This is my fishing boat, so.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's just
I have both.
Just less glitter. Less glitter down here.
Yeah.
I mean,
it doesn't sparkle as much.
Yeah, some of those Lund fishing boats with their glitter are pretty shiny. Anyway,
something.
All right, we got some questions before we kick you off the show. I know you got another meeting to get to, so we'll ask you these. How did you start curling?
My parents were involved in curling at the University of Minnesota, and it was an intramural sport at the time. And that was a long time ago because I'm a baby of 11, and we won't go into that story.
Woof.
But suffice to say, they passed it on to all the kids. And that's, I started curling when I was 6 years old.
In St. Paul.
St. Paul Curling Club, yep.
There you go. Yeah, we barely touched on your curling career. You were very accomplished. You went to the Olympics. You were a very good lead for a long time. You probably played other positions, but I remember you predominantly as a lead. But anyway.
I actually skipped until I was in my mid-20s. I won a Minnesota Junior State Championship as a skip.
All right.
And that's what really, got me enthused about competitive curling was winning that championship and seeing, what was possible.
Sweet.
What year was that?
1987.
Who was on your team?
So a couple of names you might remember. So Steve Gittala was on my team. Mike Lindholm was on my team. And Jeff Palaio.
All right.
Yep.
All right, next question. Other than your home club or whatever you've ever considered your home club, where do you like to play?
Boy, so I do consider St. Paul my home club, even though I ran Four Seasons for a long time, and I do have my heart is kind of, I left my heart in Four Seasons Curling Club just because it was a labor of love getting that place going. I think my favorite place to play is actually a club in Switzerland. Actually, it's in Lucerne. It's the Lucerne Curling Club, and it's only because it's one of the most beautiful clubs I've ever seen. You'll have to look it up. It's very European styling. It's all wood inside the ice shed. It's a pretty cool facility.
Sweet. We'll check it out. Switzerland's a popular answer on the show. A lot of people like going to Switzerland.
Yeah.
Never been. I should go.
You should.
Okay.
Sounds expensive.
What is your, do you have a favorite Bonspiel?
Last Chance.
Last Chance. The Last Chance. All right.
I mean, that's an easy question.
All right.
If people answer that question and they don't say The Last Chance, there's something wrong.
Well, we get a lot of House of Hearts answers, which is pretty good Bonspiel.
I suppose. I mean, Last Chance is only guys, so
I hear it's all right. It's all right. You can.
That's a good answer.
I like The Last Chance.
We've had
a fun answer.
The people we've had on that have been to Last Chance. Like that's an answer.
That's a pretty popular answer.
Smitty, Schuster.
Yeah.
I think.
Setting money and championships aside, what is the best or weirdest thing you have ever won at a Bonspiel?
Ever won?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Now I'm gonna have to go back into the memory banks. Man, so win by actually winning an event or
I don't care.
Raffle
Doesn't matter.
Fine too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not going to fact check it, John. So
no, I think I won a clothes steamer at an event.
A clothes steamer.
All right.
Yes.
Sweet.
I feel like the small appliances used to be a very regular gift.
Yes.
Or prize at Bonspiels.
Yeah.
Toasters.
Especially in Eau Claire, because there was I can't think. Presto, was that the brand that made like
Oh yeah.
Little popcorn
Yeah.
poppers
Yep.
and a whole bunch of things like that.
Yeah.
Blenders, things like
Sure.
that. I think that was based out of Eau Claire.
There you go.
Or
Stuff you used once and put in your cupboard and never used again.
Yeah,
Possibly.
but like there's a lot of
Possibly.
people that used to win small appliances at things.
Yeah, I think that's
We should bring that back.
Bonspiels used to be more centered around that kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Huh?
All right. What's a skill or talent outside of curling that we need to know about?
Other
We
than
talked
fishing,
about-
because we already talked about fishing.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that I'm an artist. I draw and I paint.
Whoa.
Oh,
What do you like to draw and paint?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Either.
Mostly wildlife. Like I'm
That's
working on a pencil drawing of our dog right now for my wife.
Is your dog wild?
I guess he's a
Okay.
lab, so he's
A
sure.
little bit.
That's awesome.
Huh.
Cool. I would like to see your artwork sometime. That'd be great.
Awesome.
What helped you along the way in becoming a better curler?
I mostly mentors. The biggest learning was from guys like Roger Schmidt, but also old guys at St. Paul Curling Club like Art Gidola, or Dex, or people who'd actually, spent some time in and around the game. And one of my favorite things as a coach and player that I talked about a lot was learning what not to say. And it's probably the number one thing in my book as a coach is what I say is we all have played with that person who invariably when you're sitting in the hack says something like, "Do you think that's enough ice?"
Yep.
Guilty.
Yep.
Do you really need to say that at that time, right?
Fair.
And there's a million examples like that, but I had so many great mentors at St. Paul and beyond. And to be honest, my fellow competitors, like I learned a lot from, the people that I played with, but probably more so the people that I played against. Because, there were some secrets in the game, but not a lot. If you spent time after games, which I find that not enough people do anymore, sitting around and having a beverage, talking with people you're playing against, even at a competitive level, you can learn a lot.
Nice. I like that answer.
I am going to sidetrack for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Corey Ward, a multiple-time national champion.
Okay.
Won a few junior championships with me.
Yep.
Very good curler for a very long time.
Yep.
In the final of the junior nationals,
Okay.
this was before I played with him,
Okay.
he said to Mike Poplinski, as he was in the hack for the final shot of the 10th end,
Yeah.
if you miss this, we lose.
That's a special relationship right
Like
there.
that is the 10 out of 10 of things you don't
Of
say
things that you shouldn't
when
say.
somebody's sitting in the hack.
Did he make it?
No, it was a hard shot though. I don't know what the odds were, even if Corey hadn't said that, but
They were
That's
lower.
too
They were
good.
certainly low.
they were probably lower after
probably
he
lower
did
after
say
that.
it. But yeah,
That's pretty awesome.
if you miss this, we lose.
Do you guys ever just have somebody on and tell curling stories for an hour?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
Go back
that needs-
to last year and find one with Wally and Steve.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That one I want to hear.
That was 2 tons of fun.
Yeah, I would suggest listening to that one. We we had Kevin Martin on earlier this year, and he told some stories too, which were pretty good.
Sure.
We probably could have had that show about 4 hours long, but we didn't. So,
Hey,
yeah,
Craig,
yeah, definitely.
you want to tell, Craig? Do you want a quick tell the Todd Burr story?
No. No, we're gonna wait. Todd can tell his own stories.
Got it.
All right. Fair enough.
All right.
You think Todd would ever come on the podcast?
I don't know.
I think he would.
We could ask him. All right. You're going to a bonspiel, and you get to take your ideal team. This can be live people, dead people, curlers, famous people, anybody you want. You can pick from a time period. I think Craig famously wants to take like 1986 Al Hackner to an event or something.
I want to take
that.
early 80s, late 70s Hackner and Kerry Burtnick.
Yeah.
To a car spiel.
So there you go. Boom. So who would you like to take? And sub question, where would you like to go?
Oh boy. That last one, the second part of the question is harder.
Probably.
So I'm also thinking Hackner's on the team. And I don't know positionally how this works out at all.
Doesn't
Probably
matter.
Ellsrud. For a more contemporary guy. And then I'm going to pull out a really, really great name that I was fortunate enough to meet twice. Ernie Richardson. If you're listening and you don't know who Ernie is, you should look it up.
Got it. That's a good name.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, I think we kind of cut you off there. You said Thomas Ellsrud. Did I hear that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Ellsrud, Hackner, Richardson.
That's a dynamite
That's a fun team.
Where are we going? So part of the Olympic run in 09 and 10, the very first event we went to after we won was an event called the Bear Mountain Classic, which is out on one of the islands off the coast of Washington, Vancouver. It was such a great, picturesque place to go, and the event was stacked with all of the teams that were going to be competing all that year, running up to the Olympics. I'd like to take that team there.
That sounds awesome. Dynamite.
All right.
Dynamite.
Good answer.
Yeah. All right. Last one before we cut you loose. If you have a walk-up song in curling, what would you like your walk-up song to be?
Oh, I forgot about this question, and you sent it to me too. Boy, it's a really
It's a bit of a stumper.
That's really tough because I have so much music that I like.
You can throw out a couple. We've allowed people to throw out a couple, so throw out a couple. We put them in our Spotify playlist.
It's narrowing it down to a song and not just a band.
Oh man,
that's my problem. So I'm gonna say something by Journey, just to go back to the 80s.
Okay.
And then probably Guns N' Roses.
Okay.
Appetite for Destruction, something hard.
Okay. All right. You want a little Welcome to the Jungle?
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay. And then what do you want? You want please don't say don't. Not that I have anything against it.
No.
It's just
no.
You know, a little loving, touching, squeezing.
It's gonna be a deeper cut. It's gonna be I don't know, Stone in Love or something with a good beat to it.
All right. Awesome. I like that. We're getting tight on time. We got to cut you loose. Do you have any sponsors you want to mention? You've got your company. You might as well mention them and how we get in touch with you.
Yeah, no. So Stadium Sports Network, Curling Stadium. You can go to stadium-sports.tv is the website. You can find out all the information there. Or curlingstadium.com is the other website. If you're interested in getting a system in your club, go to curlingstadium.com. There's a lot of guides out there. There's a pricing guide, kind of an overview of everything that we do. Stadium Sports is more about the production side of things. And yeah, everybody, please tune in for the juniors this next week. Super excited to do that event. Love making sure that those kids can have as many people watching their games as possible.
Heck yeah. Where's juniors?
Juniors is in Ohio.
All right.
Bowling Green.
Yeah.
Bowling Green.
Bowling Green. Black Swamp.
Yep.
All right. Very good. Well, John, thank you. Good luck with stadium sports and curling stadium and all things IT nerdery. Yeah, good. Mm-hmm. Maybe, hopefully, you catch some fish this summer if you can get out on the water.
For sure.
Yeah, for absolutely.
Sure. If I was to, for example, going to bring my son to the cities for a junior camp, would there be the possibility of me catching a ride on a fishing boat?
Absolutely.
Okay,
I was just gonna suggest that. I think you know how to get a hold of me.
Oh, right.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Fishing and curling. Boom. Thanks again, John. We'll see you around. Yep. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Thanks, John.
All right, everybody. That wraps up season 5, episode 9. Man, 9 this year? Oof. We've been struggling. All right. Well.
Yeah, well, I had a kid, so.
Yeah, Joel had a kid. We blame Joel. Maybe we got a couple left. Maybe we don't. Who knows? Impossible to know.
No, we got at least one.
At least one left.
I think we got.
Maybe 2. Who knows?
We got some more in the tank.
We got a little bit left. Who knows?
We already got one guest lined up.
That's true. Maybe we can get a gold medalist.
Maybe.
One more gold medalist. Yeah. Anyway, big thanks to our sponsors, as always, Modus Financial. Check them out at moduscc.com. Big thanks to Mason and crew there for supporting the show. Big thanks to Croy, endgamecurling.com. Check them out. I know the season's coming to an end, but maybe some of you play year-round. Who knows? Buy a broom for next year.
There's a summer spiel coming up.
Yeah. Go to a summer spiel. Invite me to come along. Why not? Check them out.
Pass.
Broom, travel broom. Yeah, I know. Don't invite me. I don't care. Invite Craig. He's busy with baseball, but maybe he'll come. Who knows? What about Joel? No, he's got a kid.
Nope.
So, anyway, thanks to our sponsors. Big thanks to John Benton for joining us on the show today. That was a nice conversation we had. Check them out. Curling Stadium Sports. That was close. If you got anything for us, email the show, curlingnation@curlingnetwork.com. Find us on socials. We're around. I don't know. I don't think we have a whole lot more. We probably still have some ends cards if you need some for a summer spiel or a bond spiel. Or yeah, we can scrounge some up. Email the show. That's it. We're going home. We're keeping it tight today. All right? Tight. Mike.
Craig.
Joel.
Good curling, everybody. Out.